So let's talk about the worst thing about being a nice guy that no one else is talking about. Because you probably think the worst part is just getting friend zoned or struggling to get dates. And of course those things suck. But after working with clients day after day and reflecting on my own dating life in the past, I can tell you there's something destroying men from the inside out, and it goes deeper than you think. Because you're actually living a fake version of your life. And it's not just killing your success with women, it's destroying your chance at living a fulfilling life in general. And most dating content just talks about what nice guys aren't getting, but in this video I want to talk about how the nice guy mindset is actually putting you in a position where you are constantly betraying yourself and disappointing the women around you, and in ways that most guys never even realize. And let's start off with a conversation that I had with a coaching client recently. It was our first call together, and this guy is successful, decent looking guy, has his life together, and he has good social ability in general. He's not awkward or weird, and he comes off like a cool guy to talk to. But he's stuck in this pattern of getting initial interest from women and then watching it fade away. He's not able to get dates consistently, but he's also not completely in a dry spell either. He's actually in a position that a lot of you guys are probably in, to where he can get a date once in a while, just not at the frequency that he would really like. And then when he does find a girl that he's interested in, things tend to start good, but then they fade away. So during our call, he said something that perfectly captures the nice guy's dilemma. He said he went on a series of dates with a girl over the last month, and there were a couple moments where it felt like a good time to escalate or kiss her, but instead, he just waited. He said that he got in his head and he was telling himself to be respectful and patient, or maybe wait for an even clearer sign to make a move, or wait for another date because she's a quote unquote good girl who comes from a more traditional background. But over time, her replies to text had gotten drier, and now she's not responding anymore. And stories like this are just extremely common. I hear them all the time. And I used to be that guy to some degree too when I was in my late teens and early 20s. Because I was raised by a family who always taught me to respect other people, be kind to everyone, don't do anything too risky or be rude or be too pushy with women, so on and so forth. And then that was reinforced into me even more in school and throughout different jobs, to where I became very used to just presenting myself in a respectable way and not wanting to take any risks or become too expressive because I feared it might have a negative effect. And I remember one time I was specifically interviewing for a job, and the guy conducting the interview told me to loosen up and stop being a robot. I was just so locked into presenting myself in a way that I thought the other person wanted to see rather than who I actually am, and he picked up on that. I was basically unconsciously putting on an act of sorts in order to hopefully get the outcome that I wanted, because I wanted the job interviewer to like me and hire me, so I presented myself in a way that would hopefully persuade him to do so. Luckily, that was the wake-up call I needed to recognize the conditioning that had affected me from school and the professional world, and to stop suppressing my internal state so much and instead embrace more of who I actually am and loosen up. And when I look back in hindsight at that time period, I would also wait to pull the trigger on dates because I didn't want the girl to get the wrong idea of me, or I would think that she was a good girl and it'd be better to be respectful of that and not push things too much. And really all of this stems from the same root of suppressing your natural thoughts and desires due to the conditioning that has been instilled in you. And what I didn't understand is that I was actually betraying myself and also disappointing women. And not even just disappointing women, but wasting their time and letting them down. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, because I know at first that sounds like pandering to women in a way or trying to impress them or something, but it's deeper than that. I say it's deeper than that because when you're a nice guy that is trapped in this very safe way of living and going through those same motions on dates, you're actually neutering yourself in a way and denying your entire masculine essence. So think about that guy's story, because you can probably relate to it on some level as well. There's a moment on the date and you're sitting there feeling that natural tension and that desire to make a move, and instead of trusting your instincts, you're just paralyzed performing mental gymnastics instead. You're sitting there thinking, should I? Shouldn't I? What if she thinks I'm too aggressive? What if I'm misreading things? What if it's too much too soon? What if she isn't attracted to me enough? And this isn't just about missing opportunities. It's about living in a constant state of self-betrayal. Because every time you suppress that natural masculine instinct, you're telling yourself that your desires are wrong and that your instincts cannot be trusted. You're telling yourself that it's wrong to be attracted to this woman on a primal level and to want to move things forward with her. But that's why you're there on the date in the first place. And what makes this so insidious is that you think you're actually being respectful and gaining her respect. And of course, there's a certain flow to social situations and dates where you are respectful of the other person and don't just throw yourselves at them and act in an uncalibrated way. But in general, these nice guy behaviors cause you to be dishonest with yourself and the girl, and then you show up as this filtered, super logical, sanitized version of yourself that you think is more acceptable and attractive. You're correlating being respectful and avoiding risk with building attraction, and that is actively working against you. And let me bring this back to what I was saying before about disappointing women and letting them down. Because these nice guy behaviors you keep embracing aren't just affecting you, it's affecting the women that you interact with too, and you're actually depriving women of the exact experience that they're hoping to have with you. I want you to really think about this and drill this into your head. When a woman agrees to a date with you, she's not hoping to meet the politically correct, sanitized, safe version of you. She's hoping to experience your raw, masculine energy, your confidence, your desire, and your ability to lead and escalate. She's hoping that her initial attraction to you is correct and that you will show her a great time and take the interaction somewhere at some point. Now, that doesn't mean that every girl is just gonna sprint to bed with you. But if a girl has taken the time out of her schedule to get ready, do her hair and makeup, put on the outfit, and meet up with you, it's because she found you attractive to some degree, and she's hoping that you'll be man enough to actually take this somewhere, whether that's a casual thing or a more long-term thing. But no woman wants to be on the date to nowhere, or a series of dates that just leads to a dead end of nothingness. No woman wants to sit there and listen to you yap for hours and then go home tired wondering what the hell that was all about because you didn't give the date any type of direction or intent. She doesn't want to get to a point where she's wondering if you as the guy are even into her, because masculine men do typically show intention and take action, and you're not doing that. So she's wondering if you're ever going to make a move or guide you to somewhere, or if you're just going to do this friendly buddy date thing until the end of time. And it's the same thing in reverse too. When you meet a woman, you're hoping that she'll be feminine, sexy, and fun to be with, and that the two of you will continue to get progressively more intimate with each other, no matter what your dating goal is. So if I said, hey bro, this girl's going to show up, act very masculine, and then yap forever without the date going anywhere, you would just say screw that and not even show up. So the equivalent of that on the female side is when you're this very nice, play it safe kind of guy that just has a bunch of boring logical conversations and there's never any direction given to the interaction, or interactions plural if you happen to make it that far. Feminine energy is more passive and waits to be taken and swept up by the masculine, so you're embodying that feminine polarity and the attraction is just going to go off a cliff at some point. So the next time you're on a date, think about it. You're both showing up hoping for the same thing, but you are actively preventing it from happening by embracing nice guy behaviors. And worst of all, you're denying your own masculine desires that are hardwired into you because you're allowing fear, hesitation, and playing it safe to take over instead. Therefore, by default, you're living in an inauthentic way, and because it's not authentic to who you are, you will never truly be happy no matter how much you try to pretend that you are. And it's also really exhausting to have to monitor and restrain yourself out of fear and hesitation. Think of it like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. When you're in the water holding that beach ball down, you're expending massive amounts of energy fighting against it just to keep the ball suppressed under the water. The action of trying to suppress the ball is exhausting instead of just letting the ball rise to the surface and going with the flow. And this is why so many nice guys feel drained throughout the process of dating, and they can't seem to pinpoint what's going wrong and why girls aren't coming back. Part of the problem is that you're not just having a fun interaction with these girls. You're actively policing every word, every gesture, every impulse, and you're trying to be perfect instead of present. You're worried about how she's perceiving you instead of getting into a flow state where you let that masculine energy that she wants flow through you. And what's crazy is that this constant self-policing is actually more unattractive than doing something that you would consider to be a mess up or saying the wrong thing. And women can feel that tension, that hesitation, and they can sense when you're not fully expressed, when you're holding back, and it makes them uncomfortable because it feels inauthentic. And in trying so hard to not offend or mess up, you're actually creating more disappointment and frustration on the woman's part, so of course she loses attraction. You're not just denying yourself of your own desires, you're denying her the opportunity to experience real polarity and real masculine presence. You're robbing both of you of the chance to create genuine attraction and connection. Like, think about it. What woman wants a guy who fears his own desires and is terrified to roll the dice? The answer is none of them. And of course, there's a wide variety of guys watching these videos, so I always feel the need to say that you have to use some common sense here. If you just met a girl, the solution isn't to just try and rip her clothes off just because you feel the desire to. Calibration and being socially aware is still required. The point is to not go overboard into the zone where you just walk on eggshells forever and never make a move with a woman that you're attracted to. So it's not about becoming an asshole or completely disregarding the woman's level of comfort with you. It's more about learning to trust and express your masculine core instead of suppressing it all the time. When you feel that impulse to make a move or to say something bold, lean into that instead of pulling back. Yes, it might be uncomfortable. Yes, you might feel like you messed up sometimes, but that's infinitely better than living in this state of constant self-denial. Because the pain of regret is so much worse than the pain of rejection. It is so much better to roll the dice and potentially get rejected than to go home with your tail tucked between your legs, pissed at yourself for falling back into your same old habits again that you can't seem to break no matter how many YouTube videos you watch. Remember that you have testosterone flowing through your veins and you've been given a masculine essence that the feminine craves and desires, and it's becoming even rarer for women to find it. Many guys are just timid, afraid, directionless, or act like a woman themselves, which is why I stand firmly on my statements before about how the competition in the dating scene is weak. The bar has never been lower to stand out as a man, but it all begins with you actually grabbing life by the balls and saying, I'm going to be the man that I was designed to be. So remember, your masculine energy isn't something to be ashamed of. It's exactly what she showed up hoping to experience in the first place. And the real tragedy of being a nice guy isn't that you're not getting what you want. It's that you're actively pushing away what's already trying to come to you. You're not just missing out on opportunities, you're missing the chance to live as your fully expressed self. And until you address that, no amount of dating tactics or techniques will fix the underlying issue. Now, if you're tired of letting these nice guy behaviors and mindsets hold you back and you're ready to start dating on your terms, meaning actually getting consistent dates with the women who have genuine interest in you, fixing your blind spots and getting you the results that you want both in the short term and the long term, then be sure to click the first link in the description and fill out an application to fast track all of this and work with me directly. And with that said, I will see you in the next one.